Okay, here we are, 7:01. We'll call this meeting to order. The Winnetka Village Council, November 4th, 2025. Welcome. Please mute your cell phones and other electronic devices so we don't interrupt the proceedings. Do that. And I'll ask Manager Kazinas to do a roll call for attendance.
Trustee Handler. Here. Trustee Albinson.
Here.
Trustee Orsick.
Here.
Trustee Dahlman.
Here.
Trustee Apatow.
Here.
Trustee Myers.
Here.
President Dearborn.
Here. And I'd like to ask Trustee Handler to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Kim. And Kristen, can we do a quorum check, please?
The November 11th study session is canceled. Does everyone plan to attend November 18th for the regular meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we move on to item 4 for public comment. And I would ask if anyone in the audience would like to speak about an item not on tonight's agenda. And as a reminder, please respect the 3-minute limit for public comment in accordance with council policy. I see someone approaching. Come on up and give us your comments.
Hi, Ted Winnichenko. Okay, so disappointed to see that we're not going to talk about the guidance for public-private stuff on the lake. Thought that was going to be important, especially given the fact that, the construction is now done. As you all can see from the email that you received a couple hours ago at 205 Sheridan, it's all done. They've cleaned up the beach. So the fence was there to protect the public from all the construction activity. It's gone. The fence is still up. Interesting, isn't it? I wonder when the village will order them to remove it, since it's illegal. But I wanted to touch on the guidelines that we aren't talking about, because I thought they were fascinating, and I didn't really get a chance to talk about all this last time. So first, I appreciate the village attorney's statements that he talks about how, it's the still water line maybe. Of course, he says that the ordinary high water mark and public trust doctrine is the same, although that clearly isn't true, because if it was, then the Illinois Department of Natural Resources would have no authority up to the toe of the bluff and all that kind of stuff. But he does talk about how the line is dependent on how land might or might not have accreted, and if that accretion was natural or artificial, and if it was artificial, whether it was based on the upland property owner or not. But what he doesn't make clear is that that is true going back to 1787, when the Northwest Ordinance created this territory and said that the public waters would be free forever. So if a private owner wants to assert that right, it would be up to them to prove that. And that's where I think it's fascinating, and why I'm disappointed that you guys won't take up this policy. Because if someone wants to accuse me of trespassing, it is their burden to show that I'm on private land. They don't have a plat that shows that. They don't have the background information to establish where a line would be. There's no markings, there's no notice parallel to the shore saying this is where private property starts. The IDNR's permits explicitly say that they can't claim that land as private after they've worked on it. And so that would be great if you guys could adopt that, because then the police could arrest me, and once I'm not working anymore, I don't care about the misdemeanor charge. And then I would have standing to bring this up to the courts, and the courts could then finally weigh in and say what is and isn't true, because what is being done now is I don't want to say a bad word, but it's a blasphemy to what the courts intended, and how the rich that own the land are free to ignore court decisions they don't like, but go back hundreds of years to find the ones that they can twist to their advantage. So please approve them. I'm waiting to get arrested.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Susie?
Hi, I'm Susie Schreiber, and tonight I'm here on behalf of Nutria Veterans Post 4831 to invite you and all of our village neighbors to the VFW Veterans Day celebration or ceremony at the Winnetka Community House on November 11th from 5 to 6 p.m. And we have a nice program. It's all made up of Winnetka residents who are presenting, and the Troop 20 Honor Color Guard, and the VFW Post. So we just like to invite everybody to it, and glad to see you're not in study session, so you can take time out to come to the community house from 5 to 6. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Susie. We appreciate that invitation. Other members of the audience would like to make public comment? Seeing none, we'll close public comment and move on to item 5, which is reports. We'll start with trustees. I'll start down with Trustee Myers.
No report.
Trustee Apatow?
No report tonight.
Trustee Dahlman?
No report.
Trustee Orsick?
No report.
Trustee Albinson?
No report.
Trustee Handler?
No report.
No reports. Village Attorney? And Village Manager?
A brief report. The village is undertaking a flooring project in the village manager's office, which will require the second floor of Village Hall to be closed to the public starting tomorrow, November 5th, through the end of December. So after tonight's meeting, all public meetings of the village council and our lower boards and commissions will be held at the police department classroom
Until what time? Until when, Kristen?
until the end of December.
Until the end of December. Okay, thank you. Now, Village President, I have a brief report. It was already alluded to. I do want to follow up on an agenda item of October 21st. As the village trustees are aware, the lakefront policy guidelines have been removed from council consideration at this time. Many important issues were raised on October 21st, and we are going to look into those issues further, and we'll bring this back even when it's appropriate and necessary for the board to take action. So that's where we are on that issue that was addressed on October 21st. We will move on now to item 6, which was presentations. We were going to have the library board, Winnetka Northfield Library District Board President Laura Freechak here to give us an update on what was going on in the library. We don't see a lot of library issues come in front of us, so I thought Laura could come and give us a little update on their priorities. Unfortunately, she had a sick child come home today from school, and she's at home just down the street here, and we're going to reschedule her presentation. So she'll join us probably in January, I think. So that's where we're on that. Now we'll move on to item 7, establishment of the consent agenda. Without objection, resolution number R84-2025 will be removed from the consent agenda for a separate vote. Does any trustee wish to remove any other item on the consent agenda for a separate vote? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve the final form of the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
And Kristen, that's a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll move on for the approval of the consent agenda. Item 8, Kristen.
Approval of the warrant list dated October 17th, 2025 through October 30th, 2025 in the amount of $1,068,089.19. Resolution number R81, 2025, approving the disposal of a water and electric skid steer and purchase of a new water and electric skid steer from Atlas Bobcat for adoption.
May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda by omnibus vote?
So moved.
Second.
And that's a roll call vote.
Trustee Handler?
Yes.
Trustee Albinson?
Yes.
Trustee Orsick?
Yes.
Trustee Dahlman?
Yes.
Trustee Apatow?
Yes.
Trustee Myers?
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Thank you very much. We'll move on to item 9, ordinances and resolutions. We'll start with 9A, ordinance number M13, 2025, approving a final plat of subdivision and granting variations from the Winnetka zoning ordinance, and this involves 881 and 833 Private Road. This agenda item is being considered for introduction and possible adoption. Tonight, council will consider a request for approval to relocate the lot line of 2 properties. One property contains a 2-story single-family residence, and the other is a vacant lot. Community Development Director Scott Mangum is here to present. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you, President Dearborn. Trustees, members of the public. As referenced, so the two owners of the two properties are proposing to relocate the lot line between the properties. The site's located on the north side of private road between Sheridan and Old Green Bay. Zoned R2 single-family residential and consists of 2 buildable lots. The existing lots are similar in size, with 881 private containing existing 2-story residence, while 883 is currently vacant. Both lots, as well as the proposed lots, are flag lots. Additionally, both lots are legally non-conforming with respect to the same standards that the applicant's requesting relief from. Lot depth is requested and relief for 881 private, and the front street lot line for 883 private. The owners have entered into a sales contract to convey a triangular portion of the 883 parcel and consolidate it with the 881 parcel. The owner of 881 private seeking the additional land to allow for improved access to existing attached garage. The triangular area to be subdivided is approximately 1,400 square feet and is highlighted in yellow on the map. To give some perspective of the amount of the area, it's about 5% of the existing lot area of 883 private. So the subdivision would create 2 lots that would each measure just over a ½ acre. The lot sizes are compliant. The image on the right illustrates what the resulting lots would look like in a neighborhood perspective. And then the image on the left is an excerpt from the plat of subdivision. So it kind of shows that triangular area being squared off. The proposed subdivision requires approval of variations to allow Lot 1 to have a front street lot line of 10 feet, whereas a minimum of 20 feet is required. That's in that flagpole portion. And then to allow Lot 2 to have a lot depth of 177 feet, where a minimum of 200 feet is required. As indicated on the table here, the existing lots are non-conforming with respect to the same zoning standards. Additionally, a setback variation is required for the existing residence at 81 private, because the proposed subdivision width has the effect of increasing the average lot width, thereby resulting in an increase in the minimum required total side yard setback, which is 30% of the new lot width. So this results in existing residents being deficient by less than 1 foot. The Plan Commission considered the final plat of subdivision, the zoning variations, and a finding of no material increase, adverse impact for the existing non-conforming front-facing garage at its September 24th meeting, and by 7-0 vote recommended approval. The ZBA considered the zoning variations at its October 13th meeting. After hearing from staff and the applicant's legal counsel and receiving no written or verbal comment from the public, the ZBA discussed the application. Members noted the existing lots are non-conforming and therefore would not be an increase in the degree of non-conformity, and ultimately also recommended approval by a 6-0 vote. So with that, after hearing from the applicant who's present, if there's a request for testimony from them and the public, given that the ZBA and Plan Commission unanimously recommended approval, the council may wish to either consider waiving introduction of the ordinance and consider adoption this evening, or consider only introduction of the ordinance, and that's ordinance M 13-2025. That concludes the staff presentation.
Thank you, Scott. We appreciate that. Any questions for Scott? And we might pull up the applicant just to give us a little 2-minute spiel on this. Any questions for Scott down here? No? Scott, is the applicant here?
Yes, counsel for the applicant is available.
Maybe just introduce yourself and give us a little brief.
Can you go back to,
All right. Go back another one. One more. Yeah.
Good evening, President Dearborn, members of the council. My name is Christopher Canning. My office address is 1000 Skokie Boulevard in Wilmette. I represent Jesse Van Dyke, who is with me tonight. He's the owner of 881. They have a purchase and sales agreement with the owner of 883. It is contingent upon getting zoning. The variations being requested today are because of the lots as they exist today. So conveying the triangle from one lot to the other isn't going to change anything, other than the last variation that Scott mentioned is the unintended consequence of the lot becoming wider. We now need a variation of about 10 inches. It is de minimis. The house isn't changing, nothing's being added. And so we would ask for the 3 variations to be granted. We would ask that you waive the introduction, and because of the unanimous approvals of both the Plan Commission and the Zoning Board, that you approve this and the ordinance be adopted this evening.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Canning. Any questions for Mr. Canning? Go ahead, Bridget.
I don't have questions. I didn't know if you wanted me to give a brief report about planning.
Sure,
When-
please do. Please
There's
do.
no questions. It was hard for the one house to get their car in and out of the driveway, and because they're both flag lots, there was no concern about this impacting any other neighbors. You know, it's like an interior transfer between neighbors, and nobody had any problem with it at planning.
Any issues? Okay. Any questions down here? Is there an appetite to waive introduction? Down here? Down here? Okay. If that's the case, do I have a motion to waive introduction of ordinance M13, 2025?
So moved.
Second.
And that's a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed? Okay. May I have a motion to adopt ordinance number M13, 2025?
So moved.
Second.
And Kristen, that's a roll call vote.
Trustee Albinson?
Yes.
Trustee Orsick?
Yes.
Trustee Handler?
Yes.
Trustee Myers?
Yes.
Trustee Apatoff?
Yes.
Trustee Dahlman?
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Thank you very much. Good luck with your project. Okay, we'll move on to item, I think it's 9B, ordinance M17, 2025, granting a special use permit for the operation of a hair salon within the C2 Commercial Overlay District of the village. And this is at 986 Green Bay Road. And this is being considered for possible introduction and possible adoption. Tonight, council will consider a request seeking approval of a special use permit to operate a children's hair salon. Community Development Director Scott Mangum is back to present this item. Scott?
Yes, thank you. So the applicant, Sit Still Kids Salon, is the prospective lessee of a ground floor commercial tenant space within a 3-story mixed-use building. The property is zoned C2, retail commercial, and a portion of that property, including the tenant space, is located within the commercial overlay district. The building's located on the west side of Green Bay Road at the northwest intersection of Merrill and Green Bay within the Hubbard Woods district. The zoning ordinance does allow non-retail uses, such as a hair salon in the overlay district, so it does not allow them by right. However, such uses may be evaluated by the Plan Commission, and now the Village Council as a special use. The location of the proposed Sit Still Kids Salon is the northernmost tenant space within the corner building, and it's outlined on the photo here in yellow. The space they wish to occupy is approximately 1,400 square feet with approximately 25 feet of street frontage along Green Bay. And according to the applicant, the office would have a maximum of 7 employees at one time, with 3 at non-peak periods. Proposed hours of operation are weekdays, except for Tuesdays when they're closed. Weekdays would be 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Sundays from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. This slide is showing the applicant's anticipated parking volume for the children's salon. So in non-peak hours, 3 employee vehicles, 2 customer vehicles anticipated. They note that typical appointments are about 30 to 45 minutes and expecting 12 to 15 haircuts per day. And then peak hours, those numbers being a little higher with 6 employee vehicles, 4 customer vehicles. And during special events, 2 customer vehicles, and then pickup and drop off of children by parents. The applicant discussed during the Plan Commission meeting that these would be for birthday parties and things of the like. So the Plan Commission did consider this request on September 24th. Subsequent to the posting of the agenda, staff has received written comments from the public, which are included in the packet. After hearing from staff and the applicant, 5 members of the public, 4 in opposition and 1 in support, spoke at the Plan Commission meeting. The Plan Commission did discuss the proposed use. Residents of the residential condos above expressed concerns regarding the pedestrian safety crossing of Green Bay Road, parking availability, noise, and impact on building infrastructure. Commission members did ask the applicant about the frequency and size of special events, to which the applicant explained that events would be infrequent and that any event would be limited by the occupancy capacity, noting that the party room is rather small. Commission members also asked about noise generated by the business and whether the building's private courtyard entrance and rear alleyway would be accessible to customers. The applicant did explain that the main entrance would be through the front and the rear door would only serve fire exit purposes. So ultimately, by a vote of 7-1, the commission recommended approval of the application. So this evening, after hearing from the applicant, who I believe has a statement to provide, and members of the public, the council may wish to either consider waiving introduction of the ordinance and considering adoption, or consider only introduction of ordinance M17-2025. That concludes the staff presentation. Thank you.
Okay, any questions before we have the applicant come up for Scott? Any questions for Scott? Okay, Scott, why don't we have the applicant come up and maybe give us a little background here and a little context of this request?
Okay, good evening, members of the council, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm Britt Jordan, the co-owner of Sit Still Chicago, along with my husband. We're excited to bring this warm, family-friendly business to Hubbard Woods, a district that reflects the values and characters of Winnetka. Our mission is simple: to create a space where children feel comfortable and parents feel cared for. Sit Still combines high-quality service with a thoughtful, modern design that meets the needs of today's Winnetka family. We also share the village's goal of promoting strong shop local culture, and we believe our presence will encourage families to stay and spend locally. There's a few topics that I want to address that have come up in public comment. The first is public health and safety. I'm a parent of 2 young daughters that are under 6. I frequent the Hubbard Woods area. I often go to the park there, go to graders. That experience is something I know very well. And I think that parents can attest to being very attentive on Green Bay Road. I think if you are planning ahead as a parent and you're parking, you will take the time necessary to cross in a safe area with your kids, as you do in many other interactions you have throughout the day. So we're confident in that. Our schedule ahead tool will allow parents to plan ahead and make it, a seamless experience. The second is the impact on the neighbors and the property values. We plan to be in this space for a long time, and so our interactions with our neighbors and that relationship is something that it's important to us. So in our original developments of our design, we have actually made some changes. So we've listened carefully to the condo owners and made changes, including changes to our sign, avoiding any sort of lit sign, and going with something that's more simple, adding sound dampening features to our space, and ensuring that our presence remains low impact and respectful to our neighbors. The next is compatibility and community fit. Our kids' haircut model aligns naturally with the family-centered businesses in Hubbard Woods, and in testimonies with interactions I have with community members is something that they're dying to go to and are very excited about. The last is traffic and parking access. We spoke with the Village Economic Development Office and confirmed with Christopher Marks that we did not need to conduct a traffic or parking study, and we received email confirmation of this. And after that confirmation, given our small footprint and our modest impact, we were told that we did not need to provide any further evidence. So that, to us, signaled that traffic and parking would be sufficient for an average use of 2 to 3 customer cars and 2 to 3 employee cars during the day. And the last is infrastructure. The infrastructure of the building has come up in comments. And in speaking with Hoffman, Jen is a representative here tonight, there were updates made to the space in 2022. So there were comments made about clay piping. Both the sprinklers and the piping within our space have been updated more recently. And we don't believe that our building use will have any undue impact like a restaurant would or another building use. We think that a kid's haircut salon with 1 sink to wash hair and a bathroom will not add undue pressure to the building. So in closing, we see that Sit Still as an opportunity to strengthen the family-focused identity of Hubbard Woods and support Winnetka's vision of a vibrant local business community. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. You may want to stay up here because there may be some questions. How about some questions? Well, why don't we start? Scott, do you want to start? Please.
Sure. Can you go into a little bit more detail about the sound dampening? I know there was been a lot of concern. Your hours are pretty reasonable. No one's getting there too early or staying too late, but even for the time that's there, what are you envisioning in terms of adding?
Yeah, so with our architect, we were working with them and basically talking about insulation and other, there's these panels that he's used before in other design renderings. And so the panels are acoustic panels that you put on the ceiling that help kind of dampen the sound levels. So that's kind of what's been proposed so far, and he's kind of incorporated that into his initial design. But after hearing some comments, we've, planned to install that in our space.
So anything more specific in terms of like, is the whole ceiling going to be paneled with these? Is it just going to be in certain spots?
Yeah.
I mean,
So to be honest, I think it's also a matter of relocating some of the sprinklers as well. So the spacing of these specific panels is contingent on the relocation of some of the sprinkler heads. So that kind of comes into play. So right now, we've done our initial renderings and drawings, and then that wasn't a part of our plan. But after kind of hearing some of the comments of condo owners, we've planned to invest in that. So that's something that we will be taking on separate from Hoffman's investment.
okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Rob?
I'll just one step further. I know the acoustic tiles are great. Is there also, are you opening the ceiling, or are you going to put some, dampening insulation as well?
In the ceiling?
Yeah. I don't know. I just not seeing it. I just don't know what the need or the what's going on there.
Yeah, so I think the space itself probably lends itself to some of these acoustic panels and things. Intrusive work into the ceiling would be something we would have to cooperate with Hoffman on, since we don't own the space. That's not something we've explored to date.
Got it. Do you have a, please?
Janet Epstein with Hoffman Commercial. I helped with the build-out in 2022, and at the time we did have to meet code, so there is insulation in the ceiling, and I think there's 1 or 2 layers of drywall as well to meet fire code as well. So there is some insulation there now. So I think with adding the additional soundproofing, especially with the acoustic panels, it'll help dampen that even further.
I would just like to get an understanding if that will do it, but otherwise, yeah, not an issue. Also, Sit Still, is this your first?
It's our first location, so my husband and I bought used to the franchise in the
So it's a
Chicagoland
franchise.
area.
Okay.
And this would be the first location in the Chicago area that will
Okay.
be opening.
Okay, thank you.
This is probably more a question for Hoffman. Excited for a potential new business in the village, but in terms of the 2022 upgrades, is there combined sanitary sewer from the condos above, or is there separate commercial line? I would suspect that there's a separate commercial line.
Yes, there is. We have our own branch plumbing that exclusively services the premises. As she mentioned, we did upgrade that. That was upgraded to code in 2022. From our understanding, I know that the building claims that there's a lot of plumbing issues. We never had a backup into our space ever since the construction was completed. And the handbag store, same thing. I mean, they had a bathroom usage, so we're adding, a nominal amount of water. It's not like we're adding grease. There's no major changes to the plumbing as it was approved in 2022.
And is this a shared with the dentistry, the dentist's office next door? That's also a separate commercial?
From what I understand, each commercial should have their own branch that
Right.
ties into the building main, yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm not concerned that this is going to be like a Chuck E. Cheese situation in terms of noise. I mean, it's a pretty small space, so I'll let others ask
Okay.
questions.
Down here? Bridget?
Again, I can report on planning, and the one person who was a no was very concerned about the pipes, and there was some discussion about how that's a landlord issue, that's not a business owner's issue, but I'm glad to see Hoffman is in here today and straightening out that the pipes are not going to be an issue. They have some children's events every once in a while, but it's a small room. And I think their hours are ending much sooner than a restaurant or something like that would be. So those were really the 2 issues that were discussed at Plan Commission.
No comment or no questions.
Questions? Kim?
Just a couple questions sort of feeding off this. Going back to soundproofing. Hair dryers have not only are loud, but they have sort of a tone that can carry a little differently than voices or whatever. So, and along that, and also, are you going to be playing music in the salon?
I think it'll be very reasonable. I
Okay,
think there's nothing
'cause
worse to a parent than going
because
into
where
a
I'm
really
going
loud
with that
space.
is, those two kinds of sounds might require a little more sound dampening so that the condo owners above don't either feel
Yeah.
or hear those sounds, then might be required for, I know the representative from Hoffman said you did some additional things, but I really want to make sure that the condo owners aren't disturbed for noise. That's number one.
Definitely. We echo that. We're going to
Okay.
plan to be in the space for some time, and so we want to have a good relationship with the condo owners. And so that investment is something that was important to us. So we had a meeting with our architect after to speak specifically about what different types. We evaluated some, and then really the key next piece is, after getting approval, we have to work through the sprinkler changes to see what's possible to add as much sound dampening as we were able to.
Okay, that sounds good. The other concern I have is I am concerned about, well, how many, first of all, let me go back. How many, what's the capacity of the party room?
Capacity of the party room is going to be like 8 chairs. It's going to be kind of tiny.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, that is pretty tiny. Okay.
Yes.
I was a little worried about, I will tell you about the parking, or not so much parking. We all look for parking when
Sure,
we're in
sure.
Hubbard Woods. But when you'd have a scenario when parents want to drop kids off.
Yeah.
Put their flashers on, sort of clog up traffic there to just run the kids in.
Yeah.
Obviously, the good, as you mentioned in your presentation, or your documents, you were going to encourage parents to use the Hubbard Woods parking garage. For better or worse, that's also sort of a trouble point for us, where people want to cross right at Minos right now. So that's not, necessarily, that also might become a problem if parents want to dash across the street right there. So I guess I would ask that, just as part of being a good citizen and business owner, you would
Yes.
encourage your parents to find a safe way to come to your salon and drop off the kids.
Most definitely. There's, for those discrete parties that we do every so often, there's a party packet. There'll be conversations with those parents ahead of time. Before kids come into the salon, they sign a waiver to make sure that they're aware of all of the requirements of the salon. And in that, we plan to put something in to specifically urge these visitors
No
to do so.
flasher
in a way-
dropping off.
Exactly, no flashers.
Okay.
We will specifically put that in.
Because
Yeah.
you could see that would cause,
No.
that could start to cause a little bit
We
of
want to be
issues.
liked by our neighbors, yes. So,
Okay.
yeah, that's important.
Okay, that's it for now. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
of
you.
course.
Oh, I'm glad to see a lovely family business coming.
Thank you. We're very excited, yes.
Quick question, back on the party room, 8 people in the party room. I thought I read in the material that on average it would be 3 events per month. Did I read that correctly?
Yeah, so we're estimating maybe 1 birthday a week.
So it's really birthday parties once a
For
week?
6 to 8 likely young girls or boys to
Yeah.
kind of convene in that small space in the back for birthdays, yes.
Okay, so there will be activity, for what it's worth. Okay.
That
and-
represents like 17% of our revenue stream, so most of it is just
is salon.
haircuts.
Got
Yeah.
it, got it.
Bob, on that note, I brought this up at the last one. My kids have been to similar parties like this. It's not raucous. It's like the girls getting nail polish, eating pizza,
Pretty raucous, sounds pretty
yeah.
raucous to me.
It is not it's not Chuck E. Cheese.
No, Chuck, don't disparage Chuck E. Cheese.
Well, I mean, there's like hundreds of kids
Okay.
running around screaming.
Um,
Not this, right?
We may have further questions in a minute, but for the moment, why don't we ask, does anyone would like to make public comment on this agenda item? If so, we'd love to hear what you have to say. Come on up. Hi.
I'm Marlene Calders. I have notes, but I'm not going to read them.
Please.
I sent you all a letter. I think this is being sugar-coated. First of all, this is the first, I'm the board president, and this is the first time I've heard of a branch to our sewage. We spent $8,000 this year on sewage, and some of it is caused by the dental office. I'm not so worried about that as I am public safety. We have a FOIA report that says over 40 accidents have occurred between the blocks of Merrill and Scott Street. It's a hugely congested area. Parking is a joke. We're residents. There are 26 of us. We're equity owners. We're Winnetka residents. I've built 3 homes in Winnetka. I love Winnetka. I love your concept. I just think it's not right for this block. This is not the right block for children coming and going. And 6 pedestrians have been hit, 4 crossing the crosswalk on Merrill. This is a safety issue. I don't care about noise. We have Minos across the street. If we were worried about noise, we'd all have moved. This is about safety. And I'm a parent. I have 4 kids. I have 4 grandchildren. I take them to Twinkle Toes. I love the concept, but not there. I really hope you'll consider safety.
Thank you. Other public comment? Come on up.
Hello, I'm Kathleen Geary. I wanted to comment on the pipes. It's the first time I've heard about a separate pipeline for the commercial units. We had 2 floods in July. No, 2 floods in 2025, in March and in July, and no unit backed up. The place where things are clogging up, or the exit, the general exit pipes, they're underground, they're clay, they're cracked, they're settled because of the ground changes over years, and I think they're the final exit. And I disagree with the president who said it was the dental office. The dental office did not have backup. They are the ones that reported it because their unit is above the basement where the flooding was. It was about a foot or 2. There's a lot of equipment down there, pumps, a lot of, inner workings of the building. I think the architect office has their internet kind of wiring down there. And so the dental office reported it because of the smell. It's backup of sewage. So we had the plumbers out several times, and it's junk going down probably the toilets. Now we're having a business come in where there's a high turnover. The dental office, there's 3 dentists. I checked today at 4 o'clock. The receptionist said there's only 1 dentist there at any one time. There's 1 patient per hour. So their turnover of use in a dental office is way lower than a turnover of this type of business where they've got 7 hair stations. They did say they could have 7 employees at one time. And at one point, they said that their maximum for a special event could be 38 people, which includes 10 attendees, and then their parents, their kids, and then the employees. And then all these people rushing, they're coming to this business on appointments. So they're not finding parking, they're driving around, they're eventually parking, they're running late, their mother's getting out of cars, they're carrying one of their kids, and one of the toddlers is coming. I have seen so many near hits at Merle and Green Bay.
Mrs. Geary, we have a 3-minute limit, and we're at 3
It
minutes.
frightens me
Okay.
dreadfully that I'm going to see a hit. And thank you very, very much.
Thank you for your comment. We appreciate that. Other public comment on this topic? If not, we'll close public comment.
Can I make one more comment? I'm sorry.
Sure.
Jen Epstein with Hoffman again. I think there might be a misunderstanding on how the building might work as far as the infrastructure. I manage almost 30 properties here in the North Shore. Most of the buildings are close to 100 years old, if not 100 years old. And we've seen all sorts of plumbing. Example, the Hometown Coffee Building. That building is spliced up into several commercial spaces. We have residential on one side. We have offices above on the second floor. And each premises has their own branch line from each space that will run into a building main that then will run out to the street. So while you might be having issues with that main that's under the building, unfortunately, that's on the association to manage and budget and repair. We just had to do a $60,000 sewer replacement at one of our properties. It gets costly. It's hard to figure out what's going on. But unfortunately, that's what comes with a 100-year-old building. So I just wanted to reiterate that our space has been vacant. So if you had any backups this summer in 2025, Aqualta was out of the space as of March or May. So anything that happened in July could not have come from the commercial space or anything that's being put down the toilets. So I just want to be clear that we're not adding additional stress.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Okay, we'll close public comment. Let's bring it up here for any other questions or comments from trustees to Scott or the applicant.
I'll start.
Go ahead, Tina.
Yeah, I know it's hard in these buildings. It sounds like there's probably some infrastructure upgrades that the residential component may need to do, assuming that there is a separate, per the code, there is always, it's my understanding, a separate sewer outfall for the commercial businesses. But I guess, you know, I'm focusing also on the fact that we have a retail overlay and that we're asking to give a special use permit. And for the record, I was the chair of the Plan Commission before Bridget for 8 years. And one of the things that we struggle with, and I struggle with, is when we're granting a special use to allow not a pure retail use in the overlay, is it going to be the type of use, one, that's interested in these spaces, because, you know, they're obviously older buildings, and two, is it going to be the type of use that is compatible with creating the active kind of pedestrian environment and the vitality of our downtown districts that we really crave? And I think that when I look at the criteria for granting this special use, putting aside, you know, some legitimate concerns of the residential condo owners for a moment, that I think it does satisfy those criteria. I think it's going to be a compatible use with the dentist. I live in Hubbard Woods. If my kids are older now, but I could envision myself walking to this salon with my girls when they were that age. And we certainly used to walk to birthday parties for the smaller space on Tower Road, which I cannot remember its name. But so I think it's going to be a use that is compatible with our standards for granting a special use permit. And I'm not concerned about, not more than other concerns about parking. I think when we do look at the streetscape for Hubbard Woods as part of that project, I think we are going to be looking at maybe some traffic calming measures at Merrill and Green Bay, and I think that will benefit everyone. But I'm in support of this.
Okay, thank you, Tina. Other trustee comments? I think there's support, though I will say that I would prefer not to waive introduction on this. I think we received a lot of communication from neighbors. There have been some issues raised that maybe we just want to ruminate on and bring it back on the 18th for adoption. So I would prefer just to introduce this right now, and then we go from there. That doesn't necessarily imply it won't be adopted. It just gives us a little time and for neighbors to, again, weigh in on their concerns, and we can look into those, or any trustees have any issues they want to talk about along the way here for the next couple weeks.
I'll comment. I am in support of the use. I understand the concerns from the residents in the building. It's unfortunately just the nature of a 100-year-old building, antiquated use, trying to adapt it for modern times and with older systems, and whether it be sound absorption all the way down to the mechanicals and plumbing. But I think it'll be a value add for the community. It'll also add more foot traffic in our downtown of the types of families or community members that we want to use our downtowns. So hopefully be a positive impact on other businesses in the area. I personally don't have an issue with moving ahead with a full approval tonight. That would be my position.
I guess obviously we all take this safety issue very seriously in general, before this was even brought up. And I know we have the issue of jurisdiction. I don't know if we can still get flashing, not a stop sign, but flashing stops. I mean, so it's not based on IDOT parameters. I don't know if there's an emergency safety thing that allow us to stop traffic for pedestrians, but I would help in any way to try and get some type of agreement to let us do something like that.
Okay.
On that same note, just to say, my kids have gone to that dentist since we moved here, because she was in the city first, and then she came up here with her City Kids Dental North Shore. And there's always multiple kids in there. I don't know if there's only one dentist at a time, but there's usually 3 people with hygienists. And there's younger kids. What's nice is when people are waiting, they sometimes go down the street or to one of the shops next door while their child is having their teeth looked at. And I agree that intersection could definitely use some safety upgrades, but having gone there for years, I've never felt like I would put my kids at risk to rush because I was late or anything like that. I think most parents are going to be careful crossing those streets if they're crossing, and can take extra time to park. There are side streets as well. Like, you don't have to park right in front. You can park on one of the side streets.
Okay. Kim, anything before we move on? Okay. Well, I'm going to be the Scrooge, and we're not going to waive introduction on this. It could come back on the 18th as a consent item, just for the record, but I just want a little grass to grow here on this for a couple weeks. So, may I have a motion to introduce ordinance number M13-2025?
So moved.
Second.
And that's a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No opposed? Okay, we'll see you back on the 18th. You can come back if you'd like or not. We'll see how that goes. Thank you. Okay, we move on to item 9C, Resolution R83-2025, approving a First Amendment to an extension agreement between the Village and Strand Associates, Inc. for engineering design services for the Stormwater Alternatives Study for Western and Southwestern Winnetka. And this is being considered for adoption tonight. Village staff has recommended additional design services to be considered with the conveyance project design in an effort to address roadway reconstruction and water main replacement gaps. Council will consider the amendment to the proposed overall infrastructure design improvements for the village. And tonight we have Engineering Director Jim Bernal to present. Hello, Jim.
Hello. Thank you, President Dearborn. Good evening, trustees. So this agenda item here tonight is a follow-up that we had discussed briefly during the budget presentation. So hopefully here I can provide a little bit more context on exactly what staff is requesting. So just a little bit of project history. So in June 21st of 2022, the Village Council approved the resolution authorizing an extension agreement. This was based on the master service agreement that the village currently has with Strand Associates to do the design for the West and Southwest Winnetka Stormwater Management Conveyance Project for an amount a little over $2.9 million. So this design project is this project here, my favorite slide, the one we always refer to for the Western Winnetka. So that contract was to design all of the stormwater, the conveyance components that were east of Hibbard Road. And so as staff started to work through these individual sections, the Tree Street areas, the south of Willow, et cetera, we started talking about what projects that are priorities to us outside of the stormwater project that we would need to do at the same time to minimize the impacts to the residents. And so as we started to talk through that, we worked with Strand to have them develop a price, what it would cost to design those services, which is what we would normally do anyways for our normal street rehabilitation program, which is really what we're talking about, and our water main replacement. And so we had asked them, since you're here, since you're doing the surveying, what would it cost for you to expand the contract so when we bid it, we can do these at the exact same time to minimize the impact to the residents, but still accomplish and stay on track with Nick's water main replacement program and our investment into our current infrastructure. So this exhibit here is a little bit more detail. These were the exhibits that I had talked about during the budget presentation. So this exhibit here is an example of the Tree Streets area. So everything that you see bolded in the dark yellow or the orange in here, those are projects that are involved with the stormwater project. So as you can see, there's some streets here that are red. They have a blue line that represents a total roadway reconstruction is the red, and the blue represents the water main. There are some that are in green that just indicate resurfacing work and some infrastructure that we need to take care of. In this specific area, you can see how when we're working on the stormwater project here, that there's just a little sliver between roadways. And to do that heavy construction, install the larger box culverts, and then come back afterwards and then rip the street up and to do the water main part doesn't make sense. It makes sense to try to do this all at the same time. So the price that we had got from Strand includes these little side parts on here. So this example in this exhibit shows the additional work we had worked with Strand on for the Tree Streets area. This one shows the Hibbard Woods North and north of Pine design scope. Again, you can see the bolded areas of where we were planning on doing stormwater improvements, this road here being Hibbard Road. And then you can see the additional work that we're looking to do road construction on. There's some water main improvements and some road reconstructions just outside these stormwater projects, and then some intersection improvements up by Tower and Hibbard Road. The next is south of Willow Road, and there was a road reconstruction here by the intersection of Mount Pleasant and Locust. So these roads were scheduled to be reconstructed and the water mains replaced. These are all high priority water mains. And then there was some resurfacing work on some of the adjoining streets down in here. And I'm not sure why the bolded border area that you see here didn't transfer down, so I apologize. So going back to this exhibit, this is those bolded areas south of Willow Road that we would be doing stormwater work in. So going back to that exhibit, these would be adjoining to those limits of that project. So as staff worked through it, what we had done, this is a breakdown of the cost per the individual area. So you can see there's a cost for the design for the Tree Streets water mains and roadway modifications, the Willow Road East water main modifications, et cetera. So this is a breakdown for a total cumulative proposed price of a little over $1 million to do the additional design work. So this also includes not only the design work, but the permitting work, the addition to the contractual and the development of the engineer's estimates for staff as well, so we can present that to council when we come for those final contracts to be bid. So the proposed work here is utilizing budgets and dollars that we currently use that are in the existing approved fiscal year 2025 budget, as well as those that were proposed as part of the 26 budget. So what we're proposing to use for this year is to utilize savings that was generated as part of the street rehabilitation program. So with this year's program, the water department was able to save a little bit over $115,000, and they had some additional design dollars that were going to be utilized to program for the future years. Since the village will be undertaking not only the stormwater project, but also the street rehabilitation at the same time, those dollars would be contributed to the overall construction cost. So what we're proposing to use is to use the savings that we had generated as part of the water main savings this year from the street rehabilitation and some additional design. And then we would use that to start the program this year. Then next year, Nick will be using the already annual allocation for design work for water main. So this would be net neutral for his budget. From the stormwater, we have some available funding in the stormwater account this year to be covered, to cover the small portion of the design work that's stormwater related. We are not proposing to use anything in 2026 above and beyond that. There was some savings in the engineering budget for the street rehab, so we're proposing to use that savings of $150,000 to start the design roadway work in the infrastructure work this year, and then using that portion of the requested street rehabilitation dollars to go towards the remaining work for next year. So as you remember, in the proposed budget, staff requested about $1.8 million for street rehab. So we would be utilizing a portion of that street money for this design work in preparation of planning to do the construction in the coming years. So again, I would note, all of this is net neutral. There's no additional increase. We're using all the dollars that we normally program to do this design work now, but do it with a purpose so that we're minimizing those impacts when we're in these residential areas. We want to get as much of it done as we can and leave the site in the best condition that we can when we leave. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you for that, Jim.
Sure.
Questions for Jim on this agenda item? Scott?
Jim, will there be any additional design work needed at the end of this before construction starts? Or is this basically, once this plan is done, defined, we put it out to bid and we can start construction?
The latter. So once this is designed and we are done, we are ready to go out to bid. So as staff proposed, Willow Road is our primary construction project for 2026. This gets us set up for, assuming that we get the FEMA grant dollars that we're hoping for. As we get into the tree streets, not only will we be using those grant dollars to construct that portion of the tree streets components, but also utilizing our annual contributions to street rehab, water replacement at the same time to add it to the overall contract. So we're doing everything at the same time. So it would address everything. No more future changes would be required.
Yeah, okay.
Other questions for Jim? No? Kim? Kirk, anything?
It's not necessarily about Strand's contract, but as it relates to the Hibbard Road reconstruction, are we evaluating just usability by pedestrians and bicyclists as a part of that design?
For this design, no, but we are in line as a high priority through the Northwest Municipal Conference for an STP grant. So we are on the list for a grant. That grant will be utilized for the reconstruction, and we're going to be evaluating pedestrian crossings. We're going to be looking at possible sidewalk on the east side of Hibbard Road. All those pedestrian things would be included as part of that program. That was part of our application. That'll be forthcoming in the future when we get farther down on there.
All right, thanks, Jim.
Yep.
Wait, can I just follow up on
Yeah,
that?
please.
To clarify, though, you're not saying that we would redo Hibbard Road and then go back and look if we get the STP grant?
No. This is strictly for the design of
Right.
the stormwater and the utility. We've applied for a separate STP grant that we are on the short list for. We're literally the next one up. So above and beyond that, if we get that grant, we would be using those dollars for the reconstruction of Willow Road, which would include pedestrians enhancements, intersection improvements along that corridor all the way through. So we would be looking at all of that. That's our major goal.
You meant Hibbard or you
I'm sorry?
mean Hibbard? or-
Hibbard Road.
Hibbard, I thought you said Willow.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Did I say Willow?
Okay. I don't-
Hibbard.
Okay, all right. Any other questions for Jim before we ask for public comment on this topic? Would anyone in the audience like to make public comment on this agenda item? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. We'll bring it back up here. Any other thoughts or comments for Jim or amongst us? No? Okay. We'll move on. May I have a motion to adopt resolution number R83, 2025?
So moved.
Second?
And Kristen, that's a roll call vote.
Trustee Albinson?
Yes.
Trustee Dahlman?
Yes.
Trustee Handler?
Yes.
Trustee Orsick?
Yes.
Trustee Apatoff?
Yes.
Trustee Myers?
Yes.
Terrific, that passes. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. All right, we'll move on to item 9D. This was the item that was removed from the consent agenda, for the record. Resolution number R84, 2025, approving an agreement with Hay and Associates for final design services for the Spruce Street Road end access. Resolution number R84, 2025 was removed from the consent agenda for a separate vote. Tonight, council will consider a final design proposal for the Spruce Street Road and beach design. And tonight, we have Public Works Director Tom Powers to present, and Tom is setting himself up, I think. But welcome, Tom.
Thank you. Oh, I'm struggling with that. Okay.
Nice. I like that a lot.
So we're approving a
Oh.
company, Village Jet.
There we go. All right, thank you for the opportunity to present. I'm just going to do a brief history of recent events with the Spruce Street access. In August of last year, we issued a RFP for professional services for concept and design of a access to the lake level at Spruce Street. We received 2 responses. We selected a firm based that had experience working on bluffs. That was one of the key separators for them. We did go back and forth with them a little bit on the scope, and we ended up hiring them in November 2024. That contract was within the village manager's purchase authority, and that was just for the concept design. Speaking with the consultant, they indicated that it wasn't really a good idea to do a final design contract when we were asking them to study options. They wanted to know what option would make the most sense before doing a final design. As we're going through the design process, with the design of potentially stair piers in the slope, we had to get a geotechnical engineer involved. So that took place in March. And then we waited till the weather broke, because we didn't want to, they had to bring out drilling rigs. We didn't want to rip up turf and things of that nature, so that was completed in June. The draft concept was completed in July, reviewed at the staff level, which we'll go through the options they presented to us. And then at that point, it was decided to incorporate it into the budget process for the final design. One of the big things we were looking at as we undertook this project was what is required for ADA access. Our distinguished village attorney looked into this for us. Since it is a replacement of stairs that were there, the key consideration is what would be the cost to provide full ADA access, and is that disproportional to the cost to provide access? So that was kind of the purpose of the concept. One of the purposes of the concept process was to determine what it would cost to provide full ADA access and compare that with more standard access. So as a result of that process, that study, I'm going to take them in reverse order here. The option 3 was switchback, which is, you know, a ramp that goes back and forth. And I know it seems a bit silly, but we had to look at it, and it basically takes up the entire slope. So a very intrusive and damaging project. Something a little bit more, I guess, scaled back to provide some additional level of access was to do stairs with perhaps an overlook, but as we reviewed this with engineering department and staff, this was not in compliance with the steep slope ordinance. So, and then you'll see how the costs compare as we go on. The last option, which seemed to make the most sense, was just to replace the stairs as they were, adding a walkway to improve the ADA accessibility, so someone in a wheelchair could still get to the top of the slope and, you know, enjoy the views, but they wouldn't have full access. I know this is hard to read. It's kind of last minute that I added this, but when we went through the costs were anywhere from close to $600,000 for the basic staircase up to $3.3 million for the switchback. But option 2 and 3 did exceed that 20% disproportionate ratio, which was what led us to recommend option 1. And that's what Hay and Associates prepared their proposal based on. And that's what the contract's based on. And so with that, I'll open it up to any questions.
Thank you, Tom. Questions for Tom on this item? Questions? No? At this end? No questions? All right. Yeah, go ahead, Scott.
Yeah. So Tom, prior to the stairs, the area kind of to the west of the stairs, does any of that have to be regraded, new stonework, any work there, or is it really just the stairs?
It's really just the stairs and the walkway to the stairs. You have an existing cul-de-sac there. You have an existing roadway, that's fine. There's a walkway on the south side of the road to get to that point. I know it's hard to see in this picture, but there is a walkway that goes almost completely to the end of the cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
So, so we would, that walkway, the new walkway would have a curb cut that's ADA compliant and all that, but wouldn't be a major regrading effort.
And then in terms of the stone adjustment down on the beach, that doesn't exist currently? That would have to be changed, is that what I understand?
Yeah, that's what they're trying to indicate there is, we don't have the exact design, that'll get flushed out with the final design, but, you know, maintaining the walkability there.
Okay, thanks.
So just to replace the stairs, can you go back to the numbers? Just to replace the stairs is $500,000. Am I right?
Yes, that was their estimate based on similar bluff access projects that they had recently worked on. We won't know the real cost until you bid it and all that, but, yeah, that was their
And
engineer's
just to
estimate.
bring it to a place, obviously better than it was before it was damaged.
Yes.
I just don't remember it before it was damaged. I didn't go through it. I just didn't know if this is like a major upgrade or just literally replacing.
It'd be very similar. I think the foundation will be more significant, but, yeah, it'll be very similar. Plus the walkway, plus the lakefront adjustments.
Okay.
Anything down here? Tom, were the neighbors notified of this item that originally was on consent? Have we?
Yeah, so when we sent surveyors and geotechnical engineers out there, so as a courtesy, we sent a letter to the 3 properties adjacent to this stretch of spruce.
Okay.
It referred to a concept study taking place. Didn't obviously have the concept. I believe I got phone calls from 2 of the people. One was just had questions. The other person had quite a few questions. I think they eventually spoke to former village manager Bayhan. But that person had a desire to provide feedback. So.
And if this were approved tonight, what would be the next steps in this whole process?
My suggestion would be to send an update to those 3 residents to let them know this is the concept and that the design is moving forward and find some sort of venue to have feedback.
Okay. And my recollection is that this would be built in 2027?
Yeah, so
Is that-
we have to deal with the same permitting issues that everyone else has to deal with, including IDNR, Army Corps, and that's why it's carrying over significantly into next year.
Okay. So it would be more permitting and
And Jim.
planning. Got to go through Jim. And planning work with construction occurring in all likelihood in 2027. That's what the budgeting plan is.
Right.
Okay. I don't know, but from a permitting standpoint, I think it's a.
Sounds like it's a
It's not a
permitting.
money issue, no, but it's more of a permitting with IDNR and Army Corps and all that. So I don't know, I mean, if we could move it up or not, but. But anyway, that's the game plan currently. Why don't we open up this item for public comment? Would anyone in the audience like to make public comment on this issue? Come on up.
Good evening, Warren James. I'm here to address the council regarding item 8C, road end, Spruce Street, but more generally, road end access, public access to Lake Michigan from village-owned property. While I am generally in agreement with the course of action to approve the design contract to develop the plans for a set of stairs to replace the stairs that were destroyed during the high water period in 2020, I was going to say I'm disappointed that you aren't more transparent but I'm pleased that you took it off the consent agenda and had this time for discussion. The Village of Winnetka owns 7 properties abutting Lake Michigan that afford potential public access. The treatment of these 7 properties varies widely, including 3 locations where public access is prohibited: Elm Street, Oak Street, and Willow Road. Winnetka should reconcile the disparate treatment of its potential public access points and prioritize improvements to enhance public access where it's most efficacious. Elm Street end affords a gentle slope to the lakeshore, yet is blocked by a fence and posted no trespassing. Oak Street end has been effectively privatized by the adjacent property owners, including bronze placards improperly describing the public right-of-way as private property. Willow Road end was recently improved, including a 6-foot-tall chain-link fence and locked gate prohibiting public access, less than 500 feet north of Elder Lane Beach, where the village insists the Park District allow public access to the north along the lakefront. I'm curious as to who advocated for and authorized construction of this 6-foot chain-link fence. My recommendation: Winnetka should uniformly address street-end access to Lake Michigan. Uniformly enforce lakefront ordinances. Stop implementing ad hoc solutions without public engagement. Stop blocking Park District efforts to enhance its beaches and improve public access. Start public engagement with the Park District. A joint study session would be a good idea. Improve transparency regarding decision-making and allocation of scarce resources. And for goodness sake, improve Tower Road Pier. It's been in disrepair for 5 years with no end in sight. The plans prepared for the grant application, candidly, they're useless. They don't address the underlying issues, but I'll address that later. I've included in my submittal to the board a slide deck, I think it's 26 pages, that details the existing conditions and the history of the 7 known potential public access points to Lake Michigan. I hope you'll give this thoughtful consideration, the consideration it deserves, and take action. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other public comment?
Should probably want ADA access. Hi, me again. So first, I want a couple side notes. You know, it bothers me, you know, when I make mistakes, I admit them and I say I'm sorry and I try to move on. You know, Spruce was torn down in 2020, and at the time, the police chief said it was never public access. But when we go back to 2000, we see that the council specifically said it was public access. And we move forward and we let those falsehoods and those improper assertions go unchecked. So, you know, it's just disappointing that people can't stand up and say, hey, made a mistake. So I think this is great. I think that this would be an awesome thing. I do find it fascinating that we talked about a ramp down for ADA access. And, you know, the federal government has clear guidelines on this, that you don't have to have ADA access everywhere when the, you know, I mean, no one expects to have an ADA ramp up to Pikes Peak, right? So there are limits to ADA access. And so there's really no reason to have that down to the beach. However, it would seem like, for small added cost, the village could make this a much more attractive place for those people that can't get down to the beach, that could widen the platform at the top of the street end, at the top of the bluff. And most importantly, it could let people park on Spruce Street. So that street is a fully platted street, but it is now a private driveway. It has been shrunk so that you can't park on it. You can barely get 2 cars past each other on it. It is designed as a private driveway for the people that live next to it. That street could be widened, and that widened area could be made into like a couple regular parking spaces, maybe a couple disabled parking spaces, and it would allow people that have disabilities to come up to it, and they could get out and, you know, struggle over, or in their wheelchair or whatever, like me, you know, limber up, you know, to the platform. But of course, the homeowners next to it will be disappointed, just like the homeowners at Oak Street don't want that street end opened. Interestingly, I've been going through some old records. In 1959, there was a owner that asked for that street to be vacated, and then there was a public hearing, and 12 people spoke against it, and the council did not vacate it. Although in 1995, give or take, the Public Works people made that street non-travelable, so essentially vacated it. You know, I mean, it was brought up. Elm Street goes down to the beach. It could be used as a ramp, but you know, they have a grill out on the street, and they have a fence out onto the street that says private property. I'm happy. I'll have to resend you my 200-page email from a few years ago with all the information.
Okay, thank you. Any additional public comment on this agenda item? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Bring it up here. Questions for Tom Powers? Any thoughts amongst council members on this topic?
No, I think it's progress. I mean, we talked about this. We've been talking about this for a while. We obviously have a long list of things to do, and as we try and prioritize the important things, there are a lot of them. And so I'm glad we're getting to this. I think we all are. Costs a little more than I thought it was going to be. I mean, a little surprised, but I do think that is, you know, it's progress in the right direction, and we can move it forward as soon as we can.
Okay.
I mean, there's always ways you can improve a project, add a platform, whatever, but we've got a budget, we got to make trade-offs. I think that this is an area that, you know, let's try and get the stairs repaired. Let's hope that IDNR improves it faster and we can move faster, but, you know, I think that replacing the stairs is probably the right approach.
Okay.
I'll echo what Scott just said and what Ted had brought up. You know, part of me wants to make this more of a destination. I mean, I'm thinking make it a platform, a viewing, you know, place. Let's step up to our neighbors like Glencoe. They've got all these beautiful outlooks. There's a great opportunity to do it. But then, of course, taking into consideration budget. And also, there's a fair amount of public grass area as well, which I think by itself is sort of a natural programming space that people can take advantage of. So I'm in favor of what we have presented here.
Okay.
Yeah, I like pursuing option one also. I sort of do like the idea of expanding that flat area at the top to make it a little wider. And I assume we'll have an opportunity to weigh in on the final design or concept, is it?
Tom, will we see that final design?
Yeah, we can bring back at like 50% a drawing of where it's at. I guess I don't see it varying significantly from what's presented here. So if there's comments, I would say sooner rather than later is better to get them.
Sooner than later.
Well, I do like the idea of widening, if that's possible, the landing area at the top
Okay.
to make it a little more of an outlook, having that. if
Yeah,
that's
I know we have to work with engineering because there are, I think the steep slope says something about minimizing structure size. and-
Okay, right,
Yeah.
so.
I think if it's grass, I think it's okay.
Yeah, we're going to adhere with the steep slope ordinance.
Grass is good.
Okay, Bridget?
I'm in favor of this option, and also glad that we're getting to it. I know we've been talking about it for a long time. It's
Yeah.
nice to finally see forward movement on it.
Yep. Agreed. Okay, may I have a motion to adopt Resolution M84, 2025?
So moved.
Second.
And that, Kristen, is a roll call vote.
Trustee Apatow?
Yes.
Trustee Myers?
Yes.
Trustee Dahlman?
Yes.
Trustee Orsick?
Yes.
Trustee Albinson?
Yes.
Trustee Handler?
Yes,
Okay, Tom, thank you for coming tonight. We appreciate that. Item 10, old business, we have none. Item 11, appointments, we have none. Item 13, closed session. We do have a closed session. I would like to ask for a motion to adjourn to closed session for the purpose of discussing pending litigation, probable or imminent litigation pursuant to 2C11 of the Open Meetings Act. Under the motion, when we adjourn the closed session, this public meeting will automatically and immediately adjourn without the conduct of any further business or comments. May I have that motion?
So moved.
Second.
And that's a roll call vote.
Trustee Myers?
Yes.
Trustee Orsick?
Yes.
Trustee Dahlman?
Yes.
Trustee Apatow? Yes. Trustee Albinson?
Yes.
Trustee Handler?
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move into closed session.